It was the biggest series of the year. Blue Jays against the Yankees, and it did not go Toronto's way. It looked like it was going to at the start, but now it is a dogfight for first place in the AL East the rest of the way. Let's recap Blue Jays, Yankees. Tough one for the Toronto Blue Jays as they fall in 2 of 3 to the Yankees, meaning the lead in the American League East, now down to 2. So, what are the thoughts coming out of this one? First and foremost, it's a tough series loss for Toronto. I don't think there's any way around that. They had the rotation set up perfectly. It was a chance to really put the Yankees away this season, and they just couldn't. Kind of working backwards from Sunday, that first inning was such a backbreaker. And look, a lot of this credit the Yankees. A lot of the problems for New York still were there. The bullpen, aside from Williams on was it Saturday? Aside from I guess Sunday too, but aside from him and Bednar really shutting it down, there was still some speed wobbles from the bullpen. Defensively, they still had some major issues. But this offense can still be very dangerous. And you saw that. That first inning was a backbreaker, which is a ton of pitches. The Ford home run, that was really tough to take. I thought the Jays battled back after that very effectively. IKF comes up with a big hit. I like that they were testing Judge's arm a lot. I thought that made quite a bit of sense there. It was just they throughout Sunday and Saturday, they were a hit away. Both days, they were a couple of big hits away from trying to get it done. It was just that first inning with Scherzer out there battling. It took a lot out of him, and it put the Blue Jays behind the 8 ball right away. And they've battled back a lot this season. They just weren't able to get it across the finish line in this time. I thought they made a lot of smart moves and a lot of aggressive moves. They made a lot of moves I didn't agree with also, but they just weren't able to put the finishing touches on this one. I think the big mistake was the hit and run on Sunday, where, yes, I get, like, this team has gotten where they are with real aggressive baseball all season long. And they've actually hit and run kind of to perfection. But when you look at that situation, this is why it can't just be, okay, in spot X, we do Y. I think you have to look at everything that is going on here. And like Lucas, he's not a real base stealer. He can, but that's not necessarily a strength of his. But you send him in motion, and it's Miles Straw at the plate. It's one thing to do hit and run with Ernie Clement, who I can trust will make contact, or like Alejandro Kirk would be perfect for it. Some of the guys who I know can get the bat on the ball. But when I have Miles Straw at the plate, who is one of, like, defensively, love what he has done. Hustle, effort, all of it. Yes, he has a 2 home run game this year. Fantastic. That is one of the last people I would be doing a hit and run with for the Blue Jays against a guy who has a ton of swing and miss in Bednar. And with your hottest hitter on the team due up next. Like with Springer there, you run, obviously what happened is the risk where either it's a line drive and it's out, or Straw predictably can't make contact and it's a swing and a miss, it's a throw to second, the guy is out, and now there's 2 away, and your best hitter is left in the on-deck circle. So it was the right type of aggression at the exact wrong time from the Blue Jays, and it ended up hurting them. Well, we'll continue on through this Blue Jays series in just a sec, but a reminder that we do stream these live and some video game playing on multiple different platforms, including twitch.tv/primetimepk. The next time that we are going live is going to be tomorrow at 10 a.m. On to Saturday, the Blue Jays again. It's the story of the series. They just couldn't get the big hits in this series when they needed to. 8th inning, Vlad beats out that infield single. You have Bassitt and Varsho coming up with a chance to tie it, and they just couldn't. And then you get into the real danger. And I know. I've harped on the deadline a lot with this team, but this is why. It is these situations that I had in mind when we were talking about the Blue Jays in July leading up to that trade deadline, is you have a huge game, a winnable game, where, like, Chris Bassitt, who we'll talk about a bit more in depth in a second, has pitched against one of the better hitting teams in the league and given you a chance to win this baseball game. And you are facing some very good some very good relievers, and you are doing it with Lucas and Jimenez and IKF. And yes, Lucas had a big hit earlier in the game, a semi-big hit earlier in the game. And Jimenez has had some moments. IKF comes up with a bigger one on Sunday. But they are all guys who have come through for you at times, but I can't imagine feeling confident with that unit against some of the better relievers that the Yankees were able to go out and get at the deadline. I don't care the struggles that bullpen has had at times, like with Williams, Bednar, Weaver, all of them. I'm not trusting these dudes in these spots. And so it would have been really nice to have, all due respect to Ty France, but another big bat to be able to bring off the bench, or another big bat in that lineup as the series went on to make those plays. And okay, so maybe, oh, well, if Santander comes back, we'll see. Well, he's not. And like, would have been a great spot for him, admittedly, but he ain't. So they needed to get something else so that these spots didn't happen. And you still, when it's the bottom of your lineup and Bassitt and Varsho for the first time in the day weren't able to come through, what else do you have to be able to supplement that? The Blue Jays didn't, and it ends up costing them. Like I said, like Lucas looked like he had the big hit. Bichette gets thrown out at home plate. I don't mind the send there. Like, he's out by a bit. I don't mind the send there because you have seen what's happened with the Yankees, right? Like, Judge couldn't throw from right field. Bellinger, had the play in left on, I guess it would have been Friday, where he's trying to make that catch on the ball and it just slides away from him. Like, he just can't quite do the old, like, Devon White shoestring catch, and it just gets away from him. The Yankees have shown that the more opportunities you give them to screw up defensively, the more often they'll screw up defensively. So I don't mind forcing New York to make a perfect play. It's just, Bellinger did. He makes a great throw to home. Grisham with the tag, or Wells, whichever one. And Bob's your uncle, out. That's it. Yankees executed that. It is what it is. I don't mind taking that shot there. The thing that you feel really good about is Chris Bassitt. The first inning wasn't great, and there were a lot that he got hit hard on, but he was able to battle through. It is another one where it felt like he was battling, and it didn't feel like he had 100% of what we are used to from him, but he was still able to give you 5-6 effective innings and keep them in the ballgame. And that's the type of outing that you want from him in the playoffs. It would be lovely if he comes in game 3 or 4 of a playoff series and is just dynamite, lights out, 7 innings, strikes out 10, one hit baseball, and the Blue Jays can cruise to a victory. Odds are that ain't happening. This is what you want, is just get us to the 5th and keep us in it. That's all we want you to do. Get us to a point where we can kind of piece together some bullpen innings and let us get there. And he did exactly what was called upon on Saturday. So that was a positive there. And like Friday was perfect. They absolutely, they did what the Yankees did to Scherzer on Sunday, just on Friday, where they wore Schindler down. He was visibly like rattled there. And so if you are going into a playoff series, you feel pretty good about that, being able to do that to him and working your way through. They had some fantastic patient at-bats. They had big hits when they needed it. They just couldn't carry that throughout the series. You do like the approach they had against Fried, and they had a lot of contact. They just, again, needed that big hit to get through. Now, it's another series that is a big one as they take on the Houston Astros. I mean, look, they're in a spot. Every series is going to be huge the rest of the way. This was a chance to make sure that didn't happen, but now the lead in the East is down to 2, and that schedule, it's not great. It's not terrifying. There's a lot of wins that you can pick up there, but there's a lot of banana peels along the way too, and it just would have been nice to be able to get one more hit to scratch it across in any of these games. And now that lead in the East, like I said, is down to 2. So it's going to be white knuckle time for the Blue Jays the rest of the way.